Imagine, for a moment, a life where you are unshaken by external events, where your mind remains calm in the face of chaos, and you master your emotions instead of being ruled by them. What if the key to such a life has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, embedded in the ancient wisdom of Stoicism? The Stoics, thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, crafted a philosophy that has stood the test of time, guiding emperors and ordinary people alike toward a life of virtue, wisdom, and inner peace. Today, you will embark on a transformative journey through the teachings of Stoicism. In this video, we will delve into 7 powerful Stoic principles that can change your life forever. Each principle holds the power to help you master your mind, become resilient to life's inevitable challenges, and cultivate a sense of deep contentment. Whether you're battling anxiety, struggling with procrastination, or simply seeking a way to live more fully, these lessons from Stoicism will provide you with the tools you need. But here's the real question. Are you ready to take control of your life and start living with wisdom and purpose? If so, I invite you to stay with us until the end of this video. What you're about to learn can radically shift how you approach your thoughts, actions, and even your sense of self. Let's begin this exploration into the ancient world of Stoicism, where timeless wisdom meets modern-day practicality. 1. Persist and resist. The Stoic path to discipline. Persist and resist. These powerful words from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus serve as a guiding principle for anyone seeking to live a life of virtue and discipline. Within this simple yet profound phrase lies the heart of Stoicism, the ability to persist in the face of adversity and resist the temptations that lead us away from our true purpose. But how often do we, despite our best intentions, fall short of this ideal? How often do we give in to distraction, laziness, or fear, instead of standing firm in the pursuit of what truly matters? Stoicism teaches us that life is filled with challenges, both external and internal. From difficult situations at work to personal struggles with procrastination or unhealthy habits, we are constantly faced with opportunities to either give up or push forward. According to the Stoics, it is how we respond to these challenges that defines our character and determines the quality of our lives. Persisting in what is right and resisting what is wrong are two sides of the same coin, and mastering both is essential for a life of virtue. The essence of persistence in Stoicism. Persistence is more than simply enduring hardship. It is the active pursuit of excellence, even when the path ahead is difficult. For the Stoics, persistence means continuing to act in alignment with our values, no matter how tempting it may be to take the easy way out. It's about making a conscious decision to improve ourselves every day, even when we don't feel like it. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, understood persistence on a deep level. His own life was filled with hardship, yet he never allowed his circumstances to define him. Instead, he chose to persist in the pursuit of wisdom and virtue. "No great thing is created suddenly," he wrote, reminding us that real growth takes time and consistent effort. But why is persistence so difficult for many of us? The answer lies in our natural tendency to seek comfort. We often avoid the discomfort that comes with growth, choosing instead to remain within the confines of what is familiar and easy. But Stoicism teaches us that true freedom and happiness lie beyond our comfort zones. The Stoics believed that life's challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. To persist is to embrace these challenges as stepping stones toward personal mastery. Resistance, the other side of discipline. If persistence is the pursuit of what is good, resistance is the avoidance of what is harmful. In our modern world, filled with distractions and temptations, the ability to resist is more important than ever. We are constantly bombarded with opportunities to indulge in habits and behaviors that undermine our well-being. whether it's the temptation to procrastinate, overindulge, or give in to negative emotions. Epictetus urged us to resist these temptations, not because he believed life should be devoid of pleasure, but because he understood that unchecked desires often lead to suffering. Stoicism teaches us that discipline is not about suppressing our desires, but about mastering them. It's about recognizing when our impulses are leading us away from our goals and having the strength to say no. How often do we find ourselves mindlessly scrolling through social media, eating when we're not hungry, or putting off important tasks until tomorrow? Each of these small decisions chips away at our discipline and erodes our ability to live a life of purpose. Stoicism offers a solution: practice resistance. By learning to resist these temptations, we strengthen our willpower and develop the self-control necessary to achieve our long-term goals. The connection between persistence and resistance. Persistence and resistance are not separate concepts. They are deeply intertwined. In fact, they are two sides of the same coin. To persist in pursuing what is good, we must resist the distractions and temptations that pull us away from our path. And to resist what is harmful, we must persist in cultivating the habits and behaviors that lead to growth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, understood this balance well. In his Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Marcus knew that persistence and resistance begin in the mind. Our ability to control our thoughts and actions is the key to mastering both. But how do we cultivate this mental strength? How do we persist in the face of difficulty and resist the allure of distraction? The answer lies in daily practice. The Stoics believed that discipline is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more we use it. Every time we choose to persist in what is right or resist what is wrong, we are training our minds to become more disciplined. Over time, these small decisions add up, and we develop the mental resilience needed to face life's challenges with calm and clarity. The role of purpose in persistence and resistance. One of the reasons many people struggle with persistence and resistance is that they lack a clear sense of purpose. Without a strong why, it's easy to give up when things get tough or to indulge in short-term pleasures at the expense of long-term growth. Stoicism teaches that purpose is the foundation of discipline. When we have a clear understanding of our values and goals, we are more motivated to persist in what is good and resist what is harmful. Ask yourself, what drives you? What are your highest values, and what goals are most important to you? When you are clear about your purpose, you are less likely to be swayed by distractions or temptations. Your purpose becomes a guiding light, helping you stay focused on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on his purpose as both a ruler and a human being. He reminded himself daily of his duty to serve the people of Rome and to live according to the principles of virtue. This sense of purpose gave him the strength to persist in his responsibilities and resist the temptations of power and luxury that surrounded him. Practical steps to build discipline in your life. So, how can you begin to apply the Stoic principles of persistence and resistance in your own life? Here are some practical steps to help you develop the discipline necessary to master your mind and live with purpose. Start small. Discipline doesn't happen overnight. Begin by focusing on small, manageable tasks that align with your values. Whether it's sticking to a daily exercise routine, resisting the urge to check your phone during work, or setting aside time for reflection, small acts of discipline build the foundation for greater self-mastery. Embrace discomfort. Growth requires discomfort. When you feel the urge to quit or give in to temptation, remind yourself that this is where growth happens. As Epictetus said, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Embrace the challenge as an opportunity to become stronger. Reflect daily. The Stoics were big proponents of daily reflection. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on where you persisted and where you gave in to temptation. What can you learn from these moments? How can you improve tomorrow? This practice of self-reflection helps you stay accountable and reinforces your commitment to discipline. Focus on what you can control. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is to focus on what is within your control. You cannot control external events, but you can control your response to them. When faced with challenges, ask yourself, what can I do in this situation to persist in what is good and resist what is harmful? Cultivate gratitude. Gratitude helps shift your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. By appreciating the opportunities you have to grow and improve, you are more likely to persist in your efforts. The Stoics believed that gratitude is a powerful tool for maintaining discipline and staying grounded in the present moment. Action. Step. Build discipline. Like a Stoic, identify one area of your life where you struggle with either persistence or resistance. It could be a personal goal, a habit you want to break, or a new practice you want to cultivate. For the next week, commit to focusing on this area and apply the Stoic principles of persistence and resistance. Notice how it feels to consciously choose discipline in the face of challenge or temptation. Reflect on the progress you make and how this small shift in mindset can lead to greater growth and fulfillment. As we strengthen our discipline through persistence and resistance, we begin to see time in a new light. We realize that every moment is an opportunity to either move forward or fall behind. But are we truly valuing our time? In the next section, we will explore how Stoicism teaches us to stop wasting time and start living with intention. 2. Time is finite. Stop wasting it. We complain that our days are few, but we act as if they were infinite. Seneca. How often do we find ourselves caught in the endless flow of distractions, unaware that the time slipping through our fingers is the most valuable resource we possess? In the fast-paced world of today, filled with social media, notifications, and an endless list of trivial tasks, we frequently overlook one fundamental Stoic truth: time is finite. No amount of wealth, power, or success can purchase even a single extra second of life. Yet, how often do we behave as though we are entitled to endless tomorrows? The Stoics understood the value of time with unparalleled clarity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself that you could stop living right now. This is not meant to alarm or depress, but rather to wake us up to the reality that life is happening now, this very moment. So the question is, how are you spending your time? The paradox of time, precious yet wasted. Why do we waste so much time, even when we know it is our most limited resource? The paradox lies in the way we perceive time. On one hand, we intellectually know that our lives are short and our days are numbered. Yet on the other hand, we act as if we are going to live forever. We procrastinate, put off important tasks, and delay our dreams until a better time. But Stoicism teaches us that this better time may never come. Consider this. If you knew today was your last day on earth, how would you spend it? Would you focus on mindless activities, or would you dedicate your energy to meaningful pursuits? Every day that passes without conscious action is another day lost forever. As Seneca reminds us in his famous essay on the shortness of life, the problem isn't that life is too short, but that we waste much of it. The Stoic view of time management, Stoicism, places great emphasis on the use of time because how we spend our time reflects our priorities. What do you prioritize in your life? Is it personal growth, relationships, health, or something else? Or do you find yourself constantly distracted by things that, in the grand scheme of things, don't matter? Ask yourself, how much of your day is spent on things that align with your values and goals? How much time do you dedicate to your own personal growth, learning, and self-improvement? The Stoics would advise that we ruthlessly examine how we spend each hour, not in a way that brings anxiety, but with the understanding that time is our most valuable resource. To waste time is to waste life itself. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is memento mori, the constant reminder of our mortality. Far from being morbid, this reflection on death is meant to inspire us to live with urgency and purpose. Each passing moment brings us closer to the end, and instead of being something to fear, it's something to embrace. Knowing that time is limited forces us to ask, what are we waiting for? Procrastination, the thief of time. Marcus Aurelius warned against procrastination, writing, "You could do something good today, but you choose to do it tomorrow." How often do you catch yourself saying, "I'll start tomorrow"? Whether it's beginning a project, improving your health, or repairing a relationship, procrastination convinces us that we have plenty of time to get around to it. But do we really? Stoicism teaches that procrastination is not just a bad habit, it's a failure to value time properly. When we put off tasks, we are essentially saying that our future self will handle it better than our present self. But what the Stoics teach is that the present is all we truly have. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and postponing the things that matter most is a form of self-deception. The next time you feel the urge to put something off, ask yourself, what am I gaining by delaying this? In most cases, the answer will be nothing. In fact, procrastination often leads to increased stress and anxiety because deep down, we know that we are avoiding what is important, making the most of every day. So how can we stop wasting time and live in alignment with Stoic principles? The answer lies in intentionality. Every day we must approach life with a sense of purpose. This doesn't mean filling every moment with productivity, but rather being mindful of how we are spending our time. The Stoics were masters of reflection, often advising that we begin and end each day with a review of how we lived. Start each morning by asking yourself, what do I need to accomplish today to make this day meaningful? This simple question can refocus your priorities and prevent you from getting lost in distractions. At the end of each day, reflect, how did I spend my time? Did I live today in accordance with my values? This daily practice of reflection is a cornerstone of Stoicism and helps ensure that we are making the most of the time we have. But remember, this is not about being overly strict with yourself. There is value in rest, in relaxation, and in enjoying life's simple pleasures. The key is balance. Are you spending your time in a way that enriches your life, or are you letting it slip away in trivial pursuits? Stoicism teaches us to be conscious of every hour and to live deliberately. Action step: evaluate your use of time. Take a moment to reflect on how you are currently using your time. Are you giving your best energy to what truly matters, or are you letting distractions rule your day? For the next week, commit to tracking how you spend each hour. This simple exercise will open your eyes to where your time is going and help you identify areas where you can make more intentional choices. Don't let another day slip by without purpose. The Stoics remind us that life is short, but it can be filled with meaning if we make the choice to live fully in each moment. As we begin to take control of our time, we often find that we are still weighed down by emotional baggage, past regrets, guilt, and attachments that prevent us from moving forward. In the next section, we will explore how Stoicism teaches us to let go of emotional attachments and free ourselves from the burden of negative emotions. 3. Let go of emotional attachments. Do not let the force of your emotions rule your life. Marcus Aurelius. Our emotions are powerful. They can inspire us, drive us to action, or they can trap us in cycles of regret, guilt, and anxiety. Stoicism, as a philosophy, is not about suppressing emotions, but about mastering them. The Stoics believed that emotional attachments, to things, people, or outcomes often lead to unnecessary suffering. But why is it so hard to let go of these attachments? And how can we free ourselves from the grip of emotions that no longer serve us? The weight of emotional baggage. How often do we find ourselves replaying a past mistake or regretting a decision that didn't turn out the way we wanted? Guilt and regret can be useful teachers, showing us where we went wrong so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. But when these emotions linger, they become burdens that hold us back from living fully in the present. Imagine carrying a heavy bag on your back as you walk through life. Every past mistake, every regret, every negative emotion is like a stone in that bag. The longer you carry them, the heavier they become, until eventually they weigh you down to the point where you can no longer move forward. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot change the past, we can change how we relate to it. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reminds himself to accept what has happened and move on. Accept the things to which fate binds you, he writes, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. Why we hold on to emotions. If letting go of emotional attachments brings freedom, why do we find it so difficult? The answer often lies in our desire for control. We want things to be a certain way, and when they aren't, we feel disappointed or upset. We replay scenarios in our minds, wishing we had said something different or acted differently. But Stoicism teaches us that this kind of thinking is futile. The past is beyond our control, and the only thing we can control is how we respond to it now. Epictetus offers a powerful reminder. It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. Our emotions are often a result of how we interpret events, not the events themselves. For example, two people can experience the same setback. One may be crushed by it, while the other moves forward without hesitation. The difference lies in how each person interprets the situation. Ask yourself, are your emotions based on reality, or are they the result of how you've chosen to interpret past events? By questioning the source of your emotions, you can begin to unravel the hold they have on you. The Stoic approach to emotional detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. In fact, Stoicism values emotions as part of the human experience. However, the key is to recognize when emotions are no longer serving you. The Stoic approach to emotional detachment involves two steps: acceptance and release. Acceptance means acknowledging what has happened without judgment. This doesn't mean you approve of everything that has occurred, but that you recognize it is part of your life's journey. Once you have accepted the past, the next step is to release it. Let go of the emotional attachment to the outcome and focus instead on how you can grow from the experience. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the impermanence of all things, reminding himself that everything, both good and bad, eventually passes. In doing so, he was able to maintain a sense of emotional equilibrium, never becoming too attached to fleeting moments of pleasure or pain. This is the heart of Stoicism, understanding that life is constantly changing and that holding on to any one emotion, good or bad, is a recipe for suffering. Letting go of guilt and regret. Guilt and regret are two of the most difficult emotions to release because they are often tied to our sense of identity. We feel guilt when we believe we have done something wrong, and we feel regret when we wish we had made a different choice. But Stoicism teaches us that these emotions, while natural, can be transformed into tools for growth. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes, use them as lessons. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this knowledge to make better choices in the future? By shifting your focus from regret to growth, you can let go of the emotional weight of the past. Action step: practice emotional release. Take a moment to reflect on the emotions that are currently weighing you down. Is there a past mistake or regret that you are holding on to? Write it down, then ask yourself, Is there anything I can do to change the past? If not, practice acceptance by acknowledging that it is beyond your control. Next, focus on what you can learn from the experience and how it can help you grow. This simple exercise of emotional release is a powerful way to free yourself from the burden of the past and start living more fully in the present. Now that we've explored how to let go of emotional attachments, it's time to tackle one of the most common obstacles to living a full and purposeful life: procrastination. In the next section, we'll delve into how Stoicism can help you overcome the habit of delaying what matters most. 4. Procrastination, the thief of time. You could do something good today, but you choose to do it tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll do it tomorrow"? Whether it's starting a new habit, tackling an important project, or making a life-changing decision, procrastination often feels like a comfortable option. After all, tomorrow seems like it offers unlimited possibilities, a fresh start, more energy, better focus. But Stoicism warns us that procrastination is one of the greatest thieves of time and one of the most insidious forms of self-deception. At its core, procrastination is a failure to act in the present, and for the Stoics, the present moment is all that we truly have. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently wrote about the dangers of delay. He understood that our time on earth is limited, and to waste even a moment is to squander one of life's most precious resources. In this section, we will explore how Stoicism views procrastination, why it's such a destructive force, and how we can overcome it to live a life of purpose and action. Why do we procrastinate? The Stoics believed that procrastination stems from a misunderstanding of time and an avoidance of discomfort. We delay taking action because we believe we'll be more prepared in the future, or we convince ourselves that there will always be more time. But what is the real cost of this mindset? Procrastination often feels safe. It protects us from the discomfort of beginning something difficult or facing a challenge head-on. But in reality, procrastination is a form of avoidance that creates anxiety and stress. The more we delay, the heavier the weight of uncompleted tasks becomes. As Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." The work we avoid today will only become more overwhelming tomorrow. Ask yourself, what are you procrastinating on right now? Is it a decision you've been putting off, a project you've been delaying, or a conversation you've been avoiding? The Stoic approach teaches us to recognize that the more we put off, the more we weaken our resolve. Procrastination is not a neutral act. It's a choice to let opportunities pass us by. The illusion of tomorrow. One of the most dangerous aspects of procrastination is the belief that there will always be more time. Stoicism teaches that life is unpredictable and that tomorrow is never guaranteed. Seneca, in On the Shortness of Life, reflects on how people treat time as though it is an infinite resource, even though it is the one thing we cannot recover once lost. He writes, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The Stoics remind us that each day is a gift and that putting off what matters is a form of ingratitude. Every time we delay action, we are essentially telling ourselves that the present moment isn't valuable enough. But what if you viewed today as your last opportunity to make a meaningful impact? How would that change the way you approach your tasks and responsibilities? How procrastination affects our happiness. Procrastination doesn't just affect our productivity, it also takes a toll on our happiness and well-being. When we put things off, we create a sense of internal tension. We know we should be taking action, yet we avoid it. This creates a disconnect between our intentions and our actions, leading to guilt, stress, and a feeling of being overwhelmed. The Stoics believed that happiness comes from living in alignment with our values. When we procrastinate, we are not living according to our principles. We are avoiding the difficult, often uncomfortable work of self-improvement. As a result, procrastination not only delays our external progress, but also disrupts our internal peace. Consider the feeling of satisfaction that comes after completing a challenging task. Stoicism teaches us that this sense of fulfillment comes from acting in accordance with what we know is right. On the other hand, when we procrastinate, we rob ourselves of the joy and contentment that comes from meaningful action. The Stoic solution to procrastination. So how can we break the cycle of procrastination? The Stoics offer several powerful strategies that can help us overcome the urge to delay and start taking meaningful action today. Focus on the present moment. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is to live fully in the present. Marcus Aurelius advises us to confine yourself to the present. Procrastination often occurs because we are focused on the future. What might happen? What could go wrong? Or how we'll feel later? But by bringing our attention back to the present moment, we can remove these distractions and take action. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, ask yourself, what can I do right now to move closer to my goal? By focusing on immediate action, you take away the power of future worries and start making progress in the here and now. Break tasks into smaller steps. Procrastination is often fueled by the perception that a task is too big or overwhelming. The Stoics remind us that no great achievement happens all at once. Instead of viewing your task as one massive, intimidating project, break it down into smaller, manageable steps. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Start with the smallest step, something so easy that you can't talk yourself out of it. Once you complete that first step, you'll build momentum, and the next steps will seem less daunting. Reflect on your mortality. The practice of memento mori, the Stoic reminder of our mortality, is one of the most effective ways to overcome procrastination. When you remind yourself that life is short and that tomorrow is not guaranteed, the urge to delay fades. Ask yourself, if today were my last day, would I be content with how I've spent my time? This reflection isn't meant to instill fear, but to inspire action. The Stoics believed that by keeping our mortality in mind, we are more likely to take action on what truly matters. Focus on what you can control. Often, procrastination is driven by a fear of failure or uncertainty. We put things off because we worry about the outcome. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not good enough? Stoicism teaches us to let go of outcomes and focus only on what we can control. You cannot control how others will respond to your efforts or whether every task will be successful, but you can control your effort, your attitude, and your commitment to taking action. The Stoic approach is to take action regardless of the outcome. As long as you act with virtue and integrity, the result doesn't matter as much as the fact that you did your best. The power of immediate action. Procrastination thrives on hesitation. The longer we wait to take action, the more difficult it becomes. But Stoicism teaches us that action begets action. When we take immediate action, even if it's small, we create momentum that makes the next step easier. Start by choosing one thing you've been procrastinating on, no matter how small, and commit to taking action on it today. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions. Just start. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what we do now echoes in eternity. The actions you take today, no matter how small, have the power to shape your future. Action step: overcome procrastination with Stoic discipline. Choose one task that you've been procrastinating on. It doesn't have to be a major life decision, just something that you've been avoiding. Break it down into the smallest possible step and take action on it today. Notice how it feels to stop delaying and start doing. Reflect on the sense of relief and satisfaction that comes from aligning your actions with your intentions. As we overcome the habit of procrastination, we begin to reclaim our time and energy. But there's another trap that many of us fall into: allowing ourselves to become slaves to our desires. In the next section, we will explore how Stoicism teaches us to free ourselves from the chains of desire and cultivate true freedom. 5. Free yourself from slavery to desires. He is a slave who cannot control himself. Epictetus. Freedom is one of the highest aspirations of humanity. We all seek to live freely, to make choices that align with our values and aspirations. Yet, according to Stoicism, many of us are not truly free. We may appear free in our external circumstances, but internally, we are enslaved to our desires, cravings, and impulses. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from mastery over oneself. To be free is to have control over your mind, your emotions, and your desires. But how often do we allow our desires to control us? Whether it's the desire for material possessions, recognition, pleasure, or even the approval of others, these cravings can lead us down a path of dissatisfaction and frustration. In this section, we will explore how Stoicism teaches us to break free from the chains of desire and find lasting contentment. The illusion of freedom. Many people believe that freedom means being able to do whatever they want, whenever they want. But the Stoics saw things differently. They understood that following every desire, every impulse, is not freedom. It's slavery. When we are ruled by our desires, we are constantly chasing after external things that we believe will make us happy. But this pursuit never ends. The more we have, the more we want. The more we want, the less satisfied we become. Epictetus teaches us that no man is free who is not a master of himself. True freedom, in the Stoic sense, is the ability to choose how we respond to our desires, rather than being controlled by them. But how do we achieve this kind of mastery? How do we free ourselves from the never-ending cycle of craving and dissatisfaction? The cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Consider for a moment something you've desired recently. Perhaps it was a new gadget, a promotion at work, or recognition from your peers. Now, think about what happened after you achieved that desire. Did it bring you lasting happiness? Or did the satisfaction fade, only to be replaced by a new desire? This cycle of desire and dissatisfaction is a key focus of Stoicism. The Stoics believed that external things, whether they be material possessions, status, or pleasure, cannot provide true happiness. Why? Because they are fleeting and outside of our control. Even when we obtain what we desire, the satisfaction is temporary, and soon we find ourselves wanting more. Ask yourself, how much of your happiness depends on external things? How often do you find yourself chasing after the next big thing, only to feel unfulfilled once you get it? The Stoic answer to this dilemma is to stop looking for happiness outside of ourselves and to start cultivating it from within. The Stoic approach to desire. Stoicism teaches us that desires are natural, but we must be mindful of which desires we choose to pursue. There are two types of desires: those that are aligned with virtue and those that are driven by external factors. Desires that are rooted in virtue, such as the desire to grow in wisdom, to act with integrity, or to help others, are worth pursuing because they contribute to our growth as individuals. On the other hand, desires that are based on external things, like wealth, fame, or physical pleasure, are dangerous because they are not within our control. Stoicism encourages us to let go of these external desires and focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Epictetus reminds us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This applies to desire as well. The Stoic approach is not to suppress all desires, but to cultivate the ability to choose which desires to act on and which to let go. This is where true freedom lies, in the power to decide how we respond to our cravings. Breaking free from the chains of desire. How do we begin to free ourselves from the slavery of desire? The Stoics offer several practices that can help us break the cycle of craving and find contentment within ourselves. Practice gratitude. One of the most effective ways to overcome the constant pursuit of more is to practice gratitude for what we already have. Stoicism teaches us that contentment comes not from having more, but from appreciating what we have. Take time each day to reflect on the things in your life that bring you joy and fulfillment. By shifting your focus from what you lack to what you already possess, you can weaken the hold that desire has over you. Recognize the transience of external things. The Stoics often reflected on the impermanence of life. Everything in the material world is subject to change. Possessions can be lost, fame can fade, and even our health is not guaranteed. By reminding ourselves of the transience of external things, we can reduce our attachment to them. This doesn't mean we shouldn't enjoy the good things in life, but we must remember that they are temporary and not the source of lasting happiness. Embrace voluntary discomfort. One powerful Stoic practice is voluntary discomfort. This involves deliberately exposing yourself to discomfort or deprivation in order to strengthen your resilience and reduce your dependence on external comforts. For example, you might choose to fast for a day, take a cold shower, or go without your phone for a few hours. By practicing voluntary discomfort, you train yourself to be less reliant on external things and more comfortable with discomfort. Reflect on what truly matters. When you find yourself desiring something, take a moment to ask, will this bring me lasting happiness? Is this desire aligned with my values and principles? By questioning the nature of your desires, you can begin to see which ones are worth pursuing and which ones will only lead to further dissatisfaction. Action step: master your desires. Choose one desire that has been consuming your attention lately. It could be something material, like a new possession, or something more abstract, like recognition or approval from others. Reflect on whether this desire is aligned with your values and whether it will bring lasting happiness. If not, practice letting it go. Instead, focus on cultivating gratitude for what you already have and embracing the freedom that comes from being in control of your desires. At this point in the video, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced the cycle of desire and dissatisfaction? What practices have helped you break free from the grip of materialism or external validation? Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's journeys toward Stoic wisdom. As we free ourselves from the chains of desire, we begin to realize that true freedom lies within. But freedom is not just about avoiding external attachments. It's also about striving for excellence in everything we do. In the next section, we'll explore how Stoicism teaches us to stop settling for mediocrity and aim for greatness in every aspect of our lives. 6. Strive for excellence, not mediocrity. Why settle for doing something mediocre when you have the ability to do something extraordinary? Marcus Aurelius. As we reflect on the teachings of Stoicism, one principle stands out as a call to action: the pursuit of excellence. The Stoics did not believe in half-hearted efforts or settling for mediocrity. They understood that life is too precious to waste on anything less than our best. But what does it mean to strive for excellence? And why do so many of us, despite our best intentions, often find ourselves accepting mediocrity in our work, relationships, and personal growth? Excellence is not about being the best in the eyes of others. It's about giving your best in every situation, regardless of the outcome. The Stoics knew that while we cannot always control external results, we can control the effort we put into our actions. This principle is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and it serves as a powerful reminder that we should always strive for greatness in everything we do, no matter how small the task. But how often do we give less than our best? How many times have you completed a task just to get it over with, knowing deep down that you could have done more? In this section, we will explore the Stoic approach to excellence, why mediocrity is a form of self-betrayal, and how you can cultivate the mindset needed to live a life of purpose and distinction. The danger of mediocrity. Mediocrity is a subtle trap. It often disguises itself as convenience or good enough, but in reality, it robs us of the opportunity to grow and reach our full potential. The Stoics believed that settling for mediocrity is one of the greatest wastes of human life because it means we are not living in accordance with our highest values. Think about the moments in your life when you have settled for less than you were capable of. Maybe it was a project at work that you rushed through, a conversation where you didn't fully listen, or a personal goal that you let slip by. Each time we choose mediocrity, we are choosing comfort over growth. We are choosing to stay within the boundaries of what is familiar rather than pushing ourselves to achieve something greater. Seneca, in his letters, wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Mediocrity often stems from fear, the fear of failure, the fear of discomfort, or the fear of stepping outside our comfort zone. But Stoicism teaches us that these fears are illusions. The real challenge lies not in the difficulty of the task, but in our willingness to give it our all. Why excellence matters. Why should we strive for excellence? For the Stoics, the answer is simple: because it is within our power to do so. Excellence is not just about achieving great things, it's about living virtuously. The Stoics believed that virtue, living in alignment with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, is the highest good. And excellence is the practical expression of virtue in our daily lives. Excellence matters because it reflects our commitment to personal growth and self-improvement. When we strive for excellence, we are actively working to become the best version of ourselves. We are not content with merely existing or going through the motions of life. Instead, we are fully engaged in the process of becoming more disciplined, more focused, and more capable of contributing to the world. Ask yourself, what areas of your life are you currently settling for mediocrity? Is it in your career, your health, your relationships, or your personal development? The Stoic approach is to identify these areas and to commit to giving your best effort in everything you do. This doesn't mean perfection, but it does mean striving for progress every day. The role of purpose in excellence. One of the reasons we often settle for mediocrity is that we lose sight of our purpose. Without a clear sense of why we are doing something, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing the bare minimum. But Stoicism teaches us that purpose is what drives excellence. When we are clear about our values and our goals, we are more likely to put in the effort needed to achieve something great. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to act in accordance with his purpose. In Meditations, he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of the Stoic approach to excellence. Don't just talk about what you want to achieve or who you want to become. Act on it. Let your purpose guide your actions, and let your actions reflect your highest values. Take a moment to reflect on your own sense of purpose. What drives you? What values are most important to you? When you align your actions with your purpose, you'll find that striving for excellence becomes a natural extension of who you are. Excellence in the everyday excellence is not reserved for grand achievements or life-changing moments. The Stoics believed that excellence should be practiced in the everyday tasks of life. Whether it's washing the dishes, writing an email, or having a conversation with a friend, the Stoics believed that we should always give our best effort, no matter how small the task. Epictetus taught that excellence is a habit, not a one-time effort. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Excellence is the result of consistent action. It's about showing up every day with the intention to improve, even if only by a small margin. The accumulation of small acts of excellence leads to a life of great significance. How often do we overlook the importance of these small, everyday moments? We may tell ourselves that excellence only matters in the big things, our careers, our relationships, or our long-term goals. But the truth is, excellence is built in the small, seemingly insignificant moments of life. It's in the way we handle stress, the way we speak to others, and the way we approach our responsibilities. By practicing excellence in the small things, we cultivate the discipline and mindset needed to achieve excellence in the bigger areas of life. Overcoming obstacles to excellence. Striving for excellence is not always easy. There will be obstacles along the way: laziness, distractions, self-doubt, and the temptation to take shortcuts. But Stoicism teaches us that these obstacles are opportunities for growth. Every time we face a challenge, we have the chance to strengthen our character and deepen our commitment to excellence. When you encounter resistance, whether it's internal or external, ask yourself, how can this challenge help me grow? The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to be feared, but embraced. It is through adversity that we develop resilience, patience, and perseverance. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This Stoic mindset allows us to view obstacles not as barriers to excellence, but as stepping stones on the path to greatness. Each challenge is an opportunity to prove to ourselves that we are capable of more than we thought. Each setback is a chance to refine our skills and deepen our resolve. Action. Step. Commit to daily excellence. Choose one area of your life where you feel you've been settling for mediocrity. It could be in your work, your personal relationships, or your self-care routine. Set a goal to give your best effort in that area for 1 week. Track your progress and reflect on how it feels to strive for excellence, even in small ways. By committing to daily excellence, you will begin to see improvements not only in the quality of your work, but also in your overall sense of fulfillment and purpose. As we strive for excellence, we often encounter another formidable obstacle: anxiety. The fear of failure, the uncertainty of the future, and the weight of expectations can all create feelings of anxiety that threaten to derail our progress. In the next section, we will explore how Stoicism teaches us to manage anxiety and find peace in the face of uncertainty. 7. Do not let anxiety dominate you. Today, I escaped anxiety. Or no, I discarded it because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. Marcus Aurelius. Anxiety is one of the most pervasive emotions in modern life. Whether it's the fear of failure, the uncertainty of the future, or the overwhelming demands of everyday life, anxiety can feel like an ever-present companion. But the Stoics understood that anxiety, like all emotions, is not something that happens to us. It's something that we create within ourselves. In Stoicism, anxiety is seen as a product of our judgments and perceptions. It is not the events themselves that cause us anxiety, but how we choose to interpret those events. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that external events do not disturb us, only our judgments about them do. This insight is central to the Stoic approach to managing anxiety. When we change the way we think about our circumstances, we can change the way we feel about them. But how do we do this in practice? How do we escape the grip of anxiety and find peace in the midst of life's uncertainties? In this section, we will explore the Stoic techniques for overcoming anxiety and how we can apply them to our own lives. The root of anxiety: fear of the unknown. At the heart of most anxiety is the fear of the unknown. We worry about the future because we cannot control it. We fear failure because we don't know how things will turn out. We are anxious about other people's opinions because we cannot predict how they will respond to us. But Stoicism teaches us that this fear is based on a misunderstanding. The future is always uncertain, and no amount of worrying will change that. Instead of trying to control the uncontrollable, The Stoics teach us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Epictetus reminds us, some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. This is one of the most powerful insights of Stoicism. By accepting that we cannot control everything, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to manage the impossible. We stop wasting energy on things we cannot change and start focusing on the things we can. How anxiety affects our judgment. When we are anxious, our judgment becomes clouded. We begin to see problems where none exist, and we magnify challenges into insurmountable obstacles. Stoicism teaches that anxiety distorts our perception of reality, making things appear worse than they really are. But by questioning our judgments and perceptions, we can regain clarity. Marcus Aurelius encourages us to ask, is this really as bad as it seems? Often, when we take a step back and look at the situation objectively, we realize that our anxiety is out of proportion to the actual event. This doesn't mean that our feelings are invalid, but it does mean that we have the power to change how we respond to them. Consider the last time you felt anxious. What were you telling yourself about the situation? Were your thoughts focused on worst-case scenarios or catastrophic outcomes? By examining your judgments, you can begin to see that much of your anxiety is based on assumptions, not facts. The Stoic approach to managing anxiety. So, how can we manage anxiety in a Stoic way? The first step is to recognize that anxiety is not something that happens to us. It is something we create through our thoughts and perceptions. Once we understand this, we can begin to take steps to change our thinking and reduce our anxiety. Practice negative visualization. One of the most powerful Stoic techniques for managing anxiety is premeditatio malorum, the practice of negative visualization. This involves imagining the worst possible outcomes, not to dwell on them, but to prepare yourself for them. By considering the worst-case scenario, you can reduce your fear of the unknown and feel more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. For example, if you are anxious about an upcoming presentation, take a moment to imagine the worst thing that could happen. Perhaps the technology fails, or you forget your lines. Now ask yourself, could I handle that? The answer is almost always yes. By visualizing the worst, you take away its power to cause anxiety. Focus on what you can control. When anxiety strikes, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the things that could go wrong. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. Ask yourself, what actions can I take right now to address this situation? By shifting your focus to what is within your control, you can reduce the feeling of helplessness and take practical steps to improve your situation. Embrace the present moment. Anxiety often arises from worrying about the future. We spend so much time thinking about what might happen that we forget to live in the present. The Stoics remind us to stay grounded in the present moment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." By focusing on the here and now, we can let go of future worries and find peace in the moment. Reframe your perspective. Stoicism teaches that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. When you feel anxious, take a moment to reframe your perspective. Instead of seeing the situation as a threat, can you see it as an opportunity for growth? Instead of fearing failure, can you view it as a learning experience? By changing your perspective, you change your emotional response. Action step: manage anxiety with Stoic. Calm. The next time you feel anxious, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what is within my control in this situation? What am I telling myself about this event, and is it really as bad as I think? Practice negative visualization by imagining the worst-case scenario and reminding yourself that you can handle it. By applying these Stoic techniques, you will begin to see that anxiety is not something you have to live with. It is something you can manage and overcome. Now that we've explored the Stoic approach to managing anxiety, We have covered all 7 core principles of Stoicism. Each one is a powerful tool for mastering your mind, overcoming life's challenges, and finding peace and purpose. But the journey doesn't end here. Stoicism is a lifelong practice, and it requires daily effort and reflection. You've now journeyed through 7 powerful lessons from Stoicism, each designed to help you master your mind and live with wisdom, resilience, and purpose. From persisting in the face of adversity to letting go of emotional attachments, from overcoming procrastination to striving for excellence, these principles are not just abstract ideas. They are practical tools that can transform your life. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control the external world, we have the power to control our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. And it is through this mastery of the self that we find true freedom, happiness, and peace. As you move forward from here, I encourage you to continue practicing these Stoic principles in your daily life. Remember, Stoicism is not about perfection, it's about progress. Every day is an opportunity to grow, to improve, and to live in alignment with your highest values. If you've found value in these teachings, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What Stoic principle resonated with you the most? How do you plan to apply it in your life? Let's keep the conversation going and learn from each other's experiences. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who could benefit from the wisdom of Stoicism. Together, we can build a community of individuals committed to living with purpose, wisdom, and inner peace. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May the teachings of Stoicism guide you toward a life of excellence, resilience, and fulfillment.